Motor Week is made possible by Rock Auto and Tire Rack.
As everybody over the age of 3 already knows, small Japanese cars mean good fuel economy. It seems easy to forget that some of the best fuel economy cars can be found right here in the U.S. of A. This week we take a look at the homegrown gasoline winner, Chrysler Corporation's Plymouth Horizon TC3 Miser. The TC3 body is certainly the sleekest of the Horizon line. Its $5,800 base price also makes it one of the cheapest American cars you can get these days. When the first Horizon TC3s were introduced in 1978, it seemed Detroit might actually be taking fuel economy seriously. The front-wheel drive subcompacts were designed to be fuel efficient, but old habits die hard. Most TC3s that reached the dealers were decked out in options galore, and mileage was thrown to the wind. But not for long. Chrysler recognized that some people wanted a no-nonsense commuter car without air conditioning that did at least one thing well: use as little gas as possible. And here, the Miser does live up to its name. The EPA rates this 4-speed manual at 34 city and 51 highway. During our testing, we experienced a combined figure of 40 miles per gallon. Those numbers are surprising since the Horizon isn't all that small. Its 99-inch wheelbase is hidden under a 14.5-foot-long body that tips the scales at 2,300 pounds. The pointed scoop nose and the sharply raked back end even make it look a bit longer, and there's almost no chrome or extraneous molding to cause extra wind resistance. The interior is also larger than you'd expect. Seats are comfortable, though lacking backrest adjustment, and covered in long-wearing solid-color vinyl. But the steering wheel is at an uncomfortable angle, and it tends to make contact with your knee every time you go for the too-high brake and clutch pedals. The dash is straightforward, with warning lights substituted for most gauges. Driving the Miser was more pleasant than expected. From stoplight to stoplight, the 1.7-liter 4-cylinder gave a good account of itself. The suspension took small highway bumps quite well. Only on the biggest ruts did bounce become a problem. Winter driving, long a forte of front-wheel drive cars, posed no problem for the TC3. Our test car was driven from Detroit to Baltimore through heavy snow, non-stop, and without winter tires. For an economy car, the Miser did pretty well at the 40 to 55 mile-an-hour acceleration test. Our test crew was very pleased with the almost quick 5.2-second passing acceleration time. Since most of us judge acceleration while trying to wedge into a fast-moving expressway lane from an on-ramp, you should note that from a standing start, the Miser took an average of 10 seconds to get to 500 feet, but reached a good speed of 53 miles per hour. On a longer course, however, the Miser does run out of steam. The 20 seconds it takes to span a quarter mile translates into just 70 miles per hour. Hardly fast. Our first handling test was the turning circle. The Horizon TC3 logged 34 feet in diameter, an average distance for a small car. Our 750-foot low-speed slalom course gives us a good idea of any handling problems you're likely to find in everyday driving. The Miser was extremely predictable, flat cornering, and with only a modest amount of understeer. The slow steering, however, means a lot more effort. We tested our cars over a 2-week period, and most of our comments are drawn from much drier weather than you see here. At 55, we subjected the TC3 to our emergency lane-changing course. No problems. Little body roll and no loss of control. Just right for dodging traffic during rush hour. But if you want to stop in a hurry, you may not feel so confident. The Miser takes only 35 feet to halt from 30 miles per hour. The brakes felt solid, and there's no fade. What's worrisome is that the back end likes to swing around all too easily. And from 55, it's more like a game of spin the horizon. Again, there was no fade, and distances averaged an okay 147 feet. But the poor braking proportion between the front disc and rear drums consistently sent the back sailing into the next lane. A poor notation on otherwise very good brakes. While the brakes cool off, let's look under the hood. The heart of this Miser is a Volkswagen Rabbit-born 1.7-liter four-cylinder engine and an accompanying overdrive transaxle. Both are housed neatly in a long and wide bay. Spark plugs, dipsticks, oil filter, and even drive belts are all easily accessible. A first-rate job of packaging. At the opposite end, you'll find two traits of the traditional hatchback. First, headroom is at a premium for any rear seat commuters. The roof line slopes just a mite too sharp for comfort. Second, there is plenty of room for luggage if you leave those back seaters behind and fold the rear cushions flat. The large temporary spare tire is located under the cargo floor and is easily changed in about 17 minutes. Back on that open highway, where most Misers will live, we found it to be an acceptably quiet car, although the VW engine does rant and rave a bit at high RPM. Shifting can also be a nuisance until you learn to live with its notchy gear change pattern. But except for the swing-around brakes, we found very few bothersome problems with this car. In all, the Plymouth Horizon TC3 Miser is a simple, sparsely equipped mass transit vehicle that happens to be made in America. Just the kind of car to drive until the wheels fall off, and guaranteed to let you continue to live in the suburbs without crying all the way to the gas pump.